Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, I was just sitting here looking at my knives, and I realized that a lot of times when I'm buying a knife, it's based upon uh, appearance, the how the knife looks, and it like if you get a collection of canoes, it won't. If you got one size of canoe and the other, small one and a large one. After that, um, you seen one, you got, the same thing. Now, what I was thinking what would be nice, this is kind of like this is what I would like to see as a modern version. I don't know if it's even possible of a traditional knife. It would be nice if when they made these, they had a basic frame like, I know they've tried this, but a basic frame like the canoe. And then the covers offer a bunch of different covers, you know, abalone, imitation abalone if you can't afford abalone. They've got all these different ones, which are basically the same knife. Now they change a little bit. They might have a match strike, or you know, the blade shape might change slightly. You may or may not have a swedge up on it or something, but it's basically different covers. If it'd be nice if these were just like three screws, you know, and you can still make the whole knife function without depending on the covers being pinned. It doesn't look as traditional, but you would have the adaptability of being able to dress it for the occasion. So you buy one basic knife and you just throw on a bunch of different covers for whatever you feel like. You go into a party, throw an abalone. You want to look rich and glittery, maybe for a casino, or uh, this one is Easy Money. I think is what they call it, Easy Money. Um, you wouldn't have those blade etches, that wouldn't match it in that. But a lot of times, well, this one is, gold. I think that adds a lot to this. I mean, that makes it like a different knife than the other ones a little bit. This one, I think this one even said something. It was just Rough Rider. Um, but like I said, a lot of times it's just checkered bone. Now, see, bone would really be hard to do with replaceable covers. And the reason is people would over torque it. You'd have to countersink the bone and have a screw just right and make it to where maybe rubber cushion on the bottom of the threads, and it only goes, it had to be machined so it would only go so far, and the rest rubber cushion would do it. But still, people would over torque it and they'd crack the bone and they'd complain and want to, but it would be, and also I think a company knows, they can make a lot of money just throwing a bunch of different covers on it. Case has done that. A lot of them do that. They take a standard pattern and then they charge you more or less depending on how good it looks or what the materials are on it. Which is kind of understandable. It costs more to put stag on there. Well, then of course the stag is going to be more expensive. But there's always been kind of an inexpensive way, plastic, or these almost did it. If you knew what you were doing, you could peel off this and change it from maybe one that had a black cover on it. But eventually, this is metal. It's not designed to. Anytime you mid metal back and forth, eventually it's going to crack. So that's not really designed for that. But yeah, a lot of it is just based upon appearance. And then you get one like that, and you see another one, and you go, wow, I like that. And then I like the particular pattern. I like the series. What gaps have I got? And boom, there you go. You're uh, trying to fill up a collection. Right now, because of the current situation, who knows what's going on? But I do know that I'm not just going to buy a bunch of random knives right now. I'm going to concentrate on um, myself and stuff, like things that I need. Um, but I still have knives here, and I'll try to come up with subjects and stuff, or actually out, going out and using them and stuff like that. There's a lot of knives. I just have different ideas sometimes. Some of the thoughts that I have is why, why do you buy knives and stuff? Well, sometimes it's just a novelty of the design. Ooh, look at that. That's weird. And I like bone and everything. Ooh, that's a big slab of bone. That's all it takes for me. Sometimes, it doesn't take a lot. I look at something, I like, it's different. It's a different design, swing guard and everything. And then a separate, lock and everything. A good sized blade. That's cool. That's all it takes. But a lot of times it depends on if you got the disposable income. And I really have to be careful with my disposable income because it's very easy to dispose of that income. And being on Social Security, yeah, right. And end of the year, they might give me 3% after all we've been through this year. But yeah, good luck on that. Oh, here's another Kanuji that goes with the series, but it looks good. And it has nothing to do with the function of the knife. It's just the appearance. And I think that has a lot to do with the knife. Now, you can have some ugly knives that you carry that you don't care what they look like. And they're functional. Um, and I would classify a lot of Spydercos in that just because that's the reason why I didn't buy them. I look at it and I go, what is that hole in the blade doing there? And it's just a big hump. What's all that metal in the way? I'd never handled one. I'd never used one. So to me, it just looked like, that's just too bizarre. That's too odd. But eventually I did try one. And I still think a lot of times they're not the prettiest knife in the world. That hole does kind of like, why don't you just make a divot? A divot would have worked, like a bow drill divot. You could still drop your thumb in there, still be circular. This is something about knocking a hole in a blade that just cringes me sometimes, but anyway, that's all I got to say about that. It's just you buy what you like, To me, the reason why I like this is bone. It's a little bit more sturdy. Well, not necessarily durable, but it's better than plastic or some other kind of synthetic material. It's a natural material. So right there, it's got some points, and then it looks like trees, and it's brown. It gives you that the ground, the earth, So it's already linking you there to that. And then the jigging is usually done well, even though it may be a standard pattern that they use all the time. Still, it looks nice. I like the little shield. This is just another one. I think this is called Bone Stag or something. Their series that they did. I don't have all of them, but I like this one mainly because it had a big warnie. Where's the big warnie? There he is. Yeah, Jumbo Trapper, I think they call that one. But yeah, that's why I like collecting. That's why I like having these things, is because if I just got it and I was using it for an investment or something like that, this thing would still be in a box and a wrapper and maybe ticket, once in a while for corrosion or something, but never really, do much with it. That's fine if you want to do that. I like looking at them. Carrying them around. Occasionally I'll drop this guy in my pocket, take it around. But, like most of the time, I carry way more knives than I need. Most of the time I'm carrying more knives than I ever need. Usually I could just get by with just one knife. One knife would do all my cutting. But I like knives. I like having them on me, and even if I'm in a house, if I go into the kitchen, yeah, you could reach into a drawer and get a kitchen knife or something. But all I have to do is reach for my waist, and I got a knife. And if I don't like that one, well, and keep in mind, I'm in this house with All these knives are heavy, but still, I gotta have knives on me. Just to fidget around with sometimes, or just because you need a longer blade. Who knows? That's the way I roll. I wouldn't want to be restricted down to just one or two knives. I mean, that's why I hate these. If you could only take one, but I do need to start making up little different little bags, picnic bags and everything, and include some of these excessive knives, because nothing would bug me more than to be somewhere and not have a knife and know that I've got all these knives at home, but not have a knife that I need with me. Now it's always going to be, yeah, I could have had a better choice. If I only got one knife with me and I'm sitting there and I've got it and I'm like, man, of all the knives I got, this is what I'm going to rely on. Well, at least you got that. It's better than nothing. It's better to have a knife and not need it than need a knife and not have it. Because I keep my fingernails short. And I'm not going to be digging at stuff with my teeth. It's a good way to lose teeth. So, yeah, that's what knives are for. Cutting things. It's a little bit of weight, but it's just appearance a lot of times. Just like the way they look. So, yeah, even if it's imitation. If it's a knife, let's do it. Even if it's silly. Don't do that. That makes it illegal. It's not when we haven't quite got that crazy here in Texas where we ban zombie knives, but yeah. There you go. That's all I had to say. Oop, I dropped somebody. I knocked a car over. Yeah, I'm drawn to shiny, pretty things. It doesn't have to be. It can just be basic. Not necessarily the prettiest knife in the world. Functional. Really functional. Gets the job done. I jump between those two. Functional and attractive. If you can combine both of them, then wow, that's almost perfect. But you don't want to make it too pretty. If the knife is too pretty or too expensive, then you get to the point where you're not using it. Then its category has changed. It's become a showpiece or a special piece that you only use on special occasions. But it's taken away I think its main purpose is being a knife and being with you. A knife with you is a knife you're going to use. If you don't have a knife with you, then it doesn't matter what it was. You don't have it with you. Redundancy. I think you're repeating yourself. I am not. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.